know we haven't done Wealth Wednesday in a minute, so we're happy to be back. And also, it's a special day because it's Stacey's birthday.
Thank you.
All right.
So she said there's no place she'd rather be than here with you guys. As you know, we have some juices, so if you guys help yourself to the juices because they are complimentary as you guys are here learning about fixing your credit today. So welcome back. And happy birthday, Stacey.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such a joy to be here. And this is a very special Wealth Wednesday for us. And we're going to be talking about debt. We're going to be talking about helping you rebuild your credit. But one of the most important things that Angela and I are trying to do this is bring attention to solutions for you as we focus on financial empowerment. So we're going to be talking about a great company. You're going to hear a great story. But I want you all to start by repeating after me. Say, I am already perfect.
I am already perfect.
If I don't believe that,
If I don't believe that,
it is due to a poverty of my understanding.
it's due to a poverty of my understanding.
Get rid of that understanding,
Get rid of that understanding,
and I will become rich.
and I will become rich.
That's what it's all about, shifting your mindset, helping you guys build the right mindset for debt. And one of the first things that we want to do is introduce you to an amazing woman, Sherita Humphrey. You're going to hear all about Sherita's
Thank you.
story, but in a nutshell, this woman has gone from being homeless and having a credit score of about 342 to now being a member of the over 800 club.
Thanks
How many
to
people are here
Self-Lender.
over 800? Okay, one, okay.
That's a
No debt.
debt-free existence. And she did it largely with a product that this man is working to bring to underserved people all over the world. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is underserved and underrepresented groups are half of African American population is unbanked or underbanked. We have a difficult time getting loans. We have a difficult time getting credit. We have extra burdens when it comes to things like student loan debt and all sorts of other challenges. But we are not getting the financial solutions. The public sector and the private sector have not provided the financial solutions for us to get past this hurdle. And as things continue to move along that path, it's been interesting to observe that it's not the government, it's not the financial services industry, it's really been the technology sector that's worked as a great equalizer. Technology eliminates a lot of the biases we face, a lot of the prejudices we face. It just not only eliminates it, but a lot of companies like Self, who you're about to hear about tonight, they really came out of a social mission. We're seeing a lot of these companies coming out of the millennial generation because what did millennials get? They got a lousy economy, they got a lousy job market, they have an enormous amount of student loan debt, so they're putting off things like having families, they're dealing with a lot of financial stress, they're dealing with a lot of financial anxiety. But as we were discussing on the Breakfast Club, which you were hearing this morning, one of my favorite things about millennials is what they gave us in return. They gave us the sharing economy. So a lot of companies came out of that spirit, and Self is one of those companies. But first, we'd like to introduce you to our guest. We have Brett Billick, who's a Chief Marketing Officer at Self.
Thanks, Stacey.
And we have Sherita Humphrey, who you are going to hear all about. And I know Angela and Sherita will tell you a little bit about that.
Okay, great. So, guys, thank you again for this opportunity, Stacey and Angela. I'm just here to give you a bit of hope and motivation. Self truly helped to change my financial position. I would not be here, Brett, without you guys. They have become family to me in every sense of the word. You're looking at a young woman who was homeless. And I'm not talking about the homeless where maybe I was living like I can go to this person's house or go here. I didn't have an address for months. I was pregnant and I already had one. So not to be able to have somewhere to call home I birthed my baby and didn't have a place to call home. And no one knows that. This is the first time that I'm sharing this publicly. And so the reason why I'm doing this is because so many people, especially those who are people of color, are scared to share their financial stresses and hardships. And so I just want this to be Wealth Wednesday for you guys this is a safe place for you to talk about what's really going on in your finances, because I didn't have something like this. We didn't have wealth conversations in my home. And this is one of the reasons why I ended up homeless. Not to take thing away from my mother. She's a strong woman, but you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to get around those who can impart something into you and use resources like self, because I was denied a secured credit card. And it tore me to pieces, because I'm trying to change the dynamics, because I don't want to leave a legacy of debt, generational poverty to my kids. I said that I was going to be the trailblazer in my family, that I was going to finally be the one to break the poverty chain, because there was no one who went before me. And all of you standing here, some of you are the trailblazers of your family. People need to see you go from 342 to 808 to 841. Brett, I tell you this all the time. Thank you so much for this platform, for you guys pouring into the community. There's a lot of applications and things out there, but I can tell you guys that literally they really helped me to get into this position. Now, I was able to go from homeless to become a government analyst and auditor. And so I was only able to do that because, let me tell you something, the one thing the government is gonna check is your credit. If you're thinking about joining the military or anything of any government agency, they will run a background check, and that will include your credit. Mm-hmm. And I was not going to be able to do that without them. I wasn't. But you know what? That credit allowed me to leverage it, and I was able to walk away from my government position and my student loan forgiveness, but that did not stop me from getting to the 800 Club. I'm now teaching people across the country how to get out of debt and stay out of debt. Yeah, and so I'm not here to tell you guys anything that I didn't go through. I'm telling you, when you can play defense and offense, you can't just have an 850 credit score with the same negative money behaviors will set you up for another financial downfall. So it is going to be imperative that you continue to show up and support Wealth Wednesdays, because this is how we're going to become the millionaires and really be able to build in the community. We should be able to own not just the block, build subdivisions. That's what I'm teaching those who are in front of me and behind me. You can teach anyone anything, so that what you're learning here, take it. Because I wish I would have had this. But you know what? My kids will never have to sleep on the floor. Never. Never. Thank you.
And you talk about being ashamed, too, of
oh, yes,
not even talking about your financial situation and how personal that is for a lot of people, and they don't even try to reach out or have these discussions. And I know, Stacey, we talk about that a lot, too. People will talk about anything else, but they are so ashamed to talk about their financial situations, especially when you have a partner or you're getting into a relationship.
Yes.
Yep.
And it is important to have those discussions.
Yes, it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100 million people in the U.S. that are considered not prime. And those are a lot of people that banks don't want to work with. And that's what's sad, right? And that's what Stacey's saying is you don't want to talk about it. Banks don't want to work with you. There's another 100 million people that have the same problem that a lot of us are in. And that's kind of where we came in, was just our mission is to help people build credit and save money. And the alternatives are not good. And we're trying to give people access and a start for something that is, you can take their first step to do it, and it's not that hard.
All right, so let's simplify it and talk about self and how self works, because a lot of people here might not have used the app, don't know about it, and like you said, there are so many apps available and so many credit fixing places that you can go to, and you see the commercials on television. So let's talk about how self works and why it's been so effective.
Yeah, sure. So we're effectively a savings plan that builds credit. So What happens is you take out what's called a credit builder account, and it's a loan in your name, but you don't get the money at that time. We put it basically behind a wall with the banks that we work with. You take out the loan in your name, and then you start to make payments. As you make payments, you're saving money. As you're making payments, we report to the credit bureaus. Building your payment history represents 35% of your credit score. It's the highest percentage thing when it comes to your credit score of one of the factors. It's incredibly important. And so, our goal is to give people a mechanism to be able to show the credit bureaus and themselves that they can make the payments. Now, if you don't make the payment, we report that too, right? It's on you. We're building a tool to empower people to start to create the positive behavior.
When you say making payments, like how much is that? Because we need to know that too. Like I know, it's important to know like, okay, do I need to have $1,000? Do I need to have $500? What are those payments like?
Yeah, so we have several plans you can choose from. One of the plans is you get started with $9 right now, and then you make payments of $25 a month. So you pay yourself $25 a month over 2 years, and at the end of it, your savings unlock, and you get a lot of that money back. Now there's a piece of that that's so important, because I think a lot of times people expect that they have to come up with a lot of money to be able to build credit. They have to come up with $100 right now, and that's not the case. We give you options. We want you to choose what works best for you, and a lot of times we recommend making sure, hey, when you think about all the obligations you have in your life, choose the one that works. Think about the savings you're trying for. Think about what you're saving for. A lot of people save for emergencies, which is most important, and a lot of people are saving for building credit towards getting an auto loan, which they can't access now, or getting a mortgage, which they can't get now because their credit score is not there. So that's really one of the sample products we've got in the base mechanism.
And just to break it down for you, everyone, just to give you a little credit score 101, how many of us have sometimes been late paying a bill? Never. You're all liars. You're all liars. You lie. Yeah.
I definitely have.
Okay, well, we've been late paying a bill, and this is what Brett was talking about. One of the reasons why self is so effective is those automatic payments, those small payments that you're making up, as he said, that goes to your payment history. Payment history is 35% of your credit score, the biggest component. 30% of your credit score is the amount of credit you have. So those are the two big components. Banks also look at the mix, the types of credit you have, that's about 15%. And they also look at whether or not you're opening new accounts, which is why you shouldn't be opening all those new accounts when you go into the stores. But the biggest chunk is this 35%, paying your bills on time. Self is a phenomenal product. Self, and no one else is going to help you if you are paying these bills on time, but if you go out and max out your credit card, max out card, and you hurt your credit in other ways. If you take nothing else away from this conversation, and it's something I want Sherita to speak to in just a moment, 30% of all of the companies in this country look at your credit profile to determine if they're going to hire you.
Yes, it's true.
Mm-hmm. I repeat, 30% of all of the employers in this country look at your credit profile to determine if they're going to hire you. One of the things that was amazing when I first met Sherita and first started talking to her, when you hear Brett explain the app, I mean, we've seen the response today, and since we started talking about self over the past few days, this is something that people want. But you're thinking, okay, so I have this account for 2 years, and I'm going to make these on-time payments, and then eventually it's going to help my credit profile. It starts helping your credit profile right away, because what are employers looking for? What are lenders looking for? They're trying to see, is this the type of person that's going to pay me back? So when they look at your credit profile and they see you've taken the step to sign up for a company like Self, your credit profile starts improving. Sherita, tell us about the landlord and how when you started looking, how you got that government job, how your credit score, you weren't in the 800 club yet, but it's the credit profile that I want you all to realize how important that is.
Yeah, the credit profile, like I shared with Stacey, literally, when I was leaving my ex-husband, I didn't have a job. I went to an apartment complex that I had been passing by, just walking by all the time, and I went in there, and Felicia was the leasing agent. I just told her, I said, I don't have any money, I don't have a job, I have two boys, and we need somewhere to go. And Stacey was like, you're bold. I went there and I told her that. And so she said, we don't have anything right now, but can you wait until after the holiday? And I said, yes. Literally, she let me live in that place for 2 months. Because she said, I'm gonna give you 60 days. I said, I don't need 60 days. I don't have 60 days to wait. I said, I can do it in 30 days. I'm already using, I knew that what I was learning from using self and building my credit, that I was going to get the job that was on my bucket list. Mm-hmm. My bucket list job was that government job. They interviewed hundreds of people. They picked two. They picked two out of hundreds of interviews. And I just knew at that very moment that it was because I didn't have the education nor the experience to become a government audit analyst. I'm gonna be very honest right now, but what I did have was that they saw a young woman who was trying to make a change, and one of them was the one thing that they were looking for, and that's credit. So I am begging all of you guys, 30% of the country, it doesn't seem like a lot of companies, but I'm gonna tell you, that's a lot when you look at it in the overall scheme of things. And I'm gonna tell you, there is nothing like the feeling of knowing that I'm no longer in subprime rates, that I'm no longer being judged by some past mistakes, that that self gave me an opportunity to be able to show a different credit profile to potential lenders, or just a new place. Because a lot of times we get denied for apartments, or not even worrying about a home. We get denied for apartments due to credit. And so it's the smallest things that we overlook, that you don't think that credit is involved. Credit is everywhere. And everyone that is here today, if you don't have a self-lender account and you're needing to rebuild or repair your credit, I'm telling you, go with the $25 option. Commit to 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, you're going to thank yourself. It's 24 months. It goes so fast. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be so worth it. I would have never thought that being denied by a banking institution with a 342 credit score, they returned my little money order. That hurt my heart. I just felt like I didn't lose one thing. I may have lost everything that I own, but I didn't lose hope. And if you don't do anything else, keep hope, and please sign up for self, because it's going to you're going to be the next success story. I don't want to be the only one up here.
Now listen, I see a lot of people wearing my comments like, well, if you have cash, you don't need credit. So can we speak to that?
Cash may be king, but credit is power.
Yeah, I mean, cash doesn't build your credit score. It can help in some ways, certainly, and you can deal with emergencies or medical expenses that come up, and that's not a negative thing at all, because almost half of this country doesn't have enough for an emergency. Mm-hmm. But you need to build credit by using it wisely, by having it, by borrowing, and staying within the limits. And this is a good example of how what we see from our customers. Sherita is about a mindset, and she made the choice. And this is really, really important, is you're making a choice to do the right thing, to have the right behavior, and help yourself, because our goal is to help you, to empower you with your financial future and bring out products that help you do that. But using credit is another piece of it. So one of the things that's out there is secured credit cards. A lot of people get declined for secured credit cards, and a lot of people don't have money to get started with a secured credit card. Secured credit cards are good because it is revolving credit, which is a piece that goes into your credit score. And if you're using it the right way, it can really help your credit score. So one of the things that we've done is said, we have this credit builder account, and you're making payments, and you're establishing yourself and your payment history and your good behavior. And now we have a credit card. But the credit card, you better use wisely, and we're going to teach you how to use it wisely. So we just launched it about a month ago. There's a lot of customers that are really excited about it. And the way we think about it is you're building payments to yourself over time, 3+ months, You get to about $100 that you've saved. That $100 could then go towards securing a credit card for you, and we'll give it to you. We're telling you how to get it. We're not gonna go through a lot of underwriting stuff. We're telling you these are the rules of how you get it, and the rules are do the right thing, and then you get a credit card, and then use it wisely now. And the combination of those things is really important. And if it was just cash, then you're not gonna see much from the credit bureaus because they don't see you.
And let's talk about goals, right? Because a lot of us have goals that we want to set for ourselves. So let's just say, walk us through, I'll just give you an example, a hypothetical situation. Let's say somebody's trying to buy their first home, right? And they're trying to get their credit score raised so that they can get a great mortgage rate, an interest rate for their mortgage, and also be able to save up for that first-time home. So how would this work with self if you were trying to do something like that? Let's say the house costs $600,000, right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
credit score is below 600, and you're trying to figure out how can I save and also raise my credit score to get this first home.
And so I would say my first answer is it's part of the equation. You know, we're a step, and we're one of the most important steps. You have to make sure you get your house in order. You have to make sure, so to speak, you have to make sure that you're thinking about all the aspects of your life from a financial standpoint so that you're setting yourself up and you're setting that goal. Moving up the ladder in credit scores means a lot of money to save over time and access. So the difference between someone who's 690, 700 versus someone who's considered subprime can be over $200,000 over the course of their lifetime in interest and fees that they have to pay for. So getting access long-term to being able to afford a house and a home, we're a component, and we help that. And what we recommend people is consider all the pieces. Get rid of your debt, pay down your debt, make sure you're taking care of it as much as you can. Set up an account with us, for example, put some savings aside, start to make those payments on time. Ensure that you don't have anything that's outstanding. Ensure you're thinking about your income and how you can make more income, right? Add more to the top line while you're helping the bottom line, right? All those things go together. And of course, it's always good to save and have that goal in mind. So, you know, there are ways to access mortgages at lower credit scores, but it's really hard. You're gonna have to pay for it. You're gonna have to come up with a lot of money as a down payment. And the more you climb from your credit score, the more you'll get access to things. And you may not have to come up with as much money, but you should put as much money down as you can, as much as you can afford when you're getting new products. And so it's a process.
We have to pay attention to how the economy is changing. Things are really changing. We're moving into a gig economy. And actually by 2027, the majority of the US workforce, most of us, are gonna work as entrepreneurs, as freelancers, as solopreneurs. That's just where the economy's headed, because the old model didn't work. So you're not gonna have those opportunities to build credit. You're not, you know, it's a lot harder to get approved for any kind of credit, any kind of lending on unsteady income, but that's part of the new realities of how we're going to live. So that's why one of the reasons that we wanted to, you know, bring this attention to you. It's really technology that's coming up with these, you know, incredibly innovative solutions that are real with how we're having to live. Every entrepreneur listening to this should be downloading this app, because every entrepreneur listening to this knows how hard it is to build credit as an entrepreneur.
It's very difficult.
It's very, very difficult to build credit. Everybody who has unsteady income, everybody who has, you know, trouble making their payments on time should be downloading this app. Everyone who can't get a secured credit card should be downloading this app, because, you know, these are the new options. And there's a lot of companies out there that are offering good things, but that's why we're sifting through kind of the minutia for you to find, you know, solutions that really work. And the things Angela and I try to do with all of this is that one of the number one causes of divorce, depression, substance abuse, even suicide is financial stress. Now, the number one cause, I make you say that saying at the beginning, that you're already perfect, because our mantra, our message here is that self-worth has got nothing to do with net worth. Oh no, I can incorporate you into that. So
figure this
yeah,
out.
I like it.
Self-worth has got nothing to do with net worth, which is something we always try to remind people, but nothing will make you forget that quicker than financial stress.
And the holidays are coming up, right? And isn't that the time when people really do some spending because you think, I have to buy these gifts for people and I have to make sure that I really show out. And so this is a time when a lot of people are using their credit to do things like that. And how can we make sure, and this is not necessarily just to deal with self, but how can we make sure that people are staying within their budgets and knowing how much they should be spending or not spending, and still making sure they have a great holiday, because people have kids, family members, loved ones that they want to really show out for.
First is you have to first have a budget.
Yeah.
That's the key, because a lot of times is we feel like, and I'm pretty sure Stacey can just say this, most of the time, just reading a recent article on CNBC, they said that the average person spends about $1,000 on the holiday, and it may take them 3 to 6 months to pay it off. So just imagine that what you buy right now, you may not pay off till next summer. And so I think if you put it in that perspective and you really start to think of things like that, it'll really make you think about what is it that's really important, gifts or experiences. So we don't have to buy and go into debt every single time or overextend, especially for those who have already signed up or signing up now for self. They are going to, that's one resource that I can say that's going to notify you when you're getting to that, where you're getting too close to your utilization, which Stacey just shared with you is very important.
And
Yeah.
Brett, you guys talk to the perspective too, and Sherita, your comment on this too. With these apps like Self, when you start seeing results, you start behaving better. Like once all of a sudden you notice, oh my gosh, my credit profile got better. Or oh my gosh, not necessarily from this, but my credit score went up. It gives you motivation and confidence, and you make better spending choices.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's short-term goals get you to your long-term goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Financial Health Network has a call to action for all financial institutions in the country that says spend, save, borrow, plan. Spend less than you make. Borrow only what you can borrow. Save money. And plan for the future. Mm-hmm. It's very basic stuff that we all have to just take the step to do it. And I think, the temptations of holiday spending and those extra gifts and
Black Friday.
It is,
Cyber Monday.
which is coming up earlier. I mean, I
Light
think I saw some Christmas stuff in CVS in July. It's incredible, but you have to go into it with a plan. And you have to go into it knowing that you're going to spend a certain amount and you're not going to go above it. Because you know what the worst outcome is? You may want to buy your children that special toy that they really want, but what's worse is you're putting them in a position they're learning bad habits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this might be a great present to get somebody, that's trying to
Yes.
build up their credit. I was thinking about that too. If you know somebody that is suffering financially and they're stressed out, actually signing them up for this might be a great holiday gift.
I like it. You might have to make sure that they don't know what you're doing and they put their social security number in when you're
Yeah,
not
I mean, if
looking.
it's somebody, say my dad wanted to get
I
that for
think
my
so.
mom because she could use some help.
I walked somebody through the sign-up process the other day. They wanted to do it,
Yep.
and I walked them through it, and that's a great thing to do. We're talking about, again, this app works on behavior, and we're trying to help
Yes.
everybody create healthy behaviors and habits. And we're talking about holiday spending, and we all lose our minds during holiday spending, because holiday spending, again, like we're talking about, is a lot more than just the holidays. Parents try to compensate for not spending the time they want to spend with their kids by buying them expensive presents. You might have this image of yourself, I got to be the person who sends out the most Christmas cards, or I got to be the person who sends out this. And the holidays push all of those emotional buttons. I've talked to people who are borrowing from their 401ks or their emergency savings to pay for holiday spending. The holidays are not an emergency. But again, they really push these emotional buttons, and we'll be talking about that a lot more, I know, in Wealth Wednesdays closer to the holidays. But again, your app helps us kind of compensate for that behavior. Those payments are automatic, but again, I think people start to build confidence as they use your app.
And that's that's part of what we try to do, and it's what I think a lot of financial technology companies are doing. that are rooted in technology is we have a lot of education. So we really try to teach people about the different things that affect them, whether that's credit or budgeting or saving money or lots of different situations that may affect their financial lives. But we also want to ensure that you understand and see when you interact with us that we're telling you, hey, good job, you made the payment.
Yeah.
That's your first payment. Good job, right? Here's your credit score. Check your credit score. Come back, look at it. Here are the habits that you need to form. For people who've gotten our credit card, we tell them their credit utilization, which no other company does with a credit card, because most companies want you to spend as much as you can possibly spend with your credit card. We're telling you, don't go above 30%, which is recommended to help your credit score. And those are really important. It's features, it's engagement, and staying on top of it, keeping it top of mind, and always knowing where you stand.
And we were talking about these newer companies that we're trying to bring your attention to, like Self, are rooted in a social mission. And Brett is very humble. But you guys even have a scholarship for entrepreneurs.
We do, yeah. We do a scholarship for entrepreneurs. Last year's winner was a student at University of New Orleans. He had emigrated over to the U.S. from Africa. He's an engineer starting a company. It's really cool. So we do that. We want to give back to the community. We want to enable people to start companies and be entrepreneurs. And then we work with, in a similar vein, we work with a lot of nonprofits across the country that are trying to help people get started and get on their feet in many different ways.
We love Self.
Yes.
That's an awesome
Nice.
thing that you guys are doing.
Well, you know, it's that time now where if you guys have any questions or there's goals you want to share or ask anything right now is the time for you guys to step up and get this information while we're on site. Yes, perfect
Come
credit
on up.
card. And
Yes, I don't miss payments. That wouldn't
he's
make
never
sense.
paid a bill late.
I don't think you've missed none either. I think you on your game.
No, I've definitely missed a couple of payments.
Back in the day?
I
Or currently?
have two that because I forgot.
Now? Recently?
Maybe like 3 years ago.
See? Yeah, it's been a minute.
But it's still on my credit report.
Yeah.
I probably could get it bumped off. I just haven't.
I just wanted to say, because we spoke and you broke down, I had some questions for you and everything. I personally think that it's a great service, it's a great app based on some of the stuff we talked about.
Yep.
And basically how it's a simple $9 fee to join. You got 4 different options. You got a lot of other tools to help people really wrap their mind around this whole thing. So, I focus on financial structure and money management. So I like this. This is something, like I told you, I always recommend stuff for people when I'm just sharing information. So this is something that, and I'm going to dive a little more into it just to see if there's anything I'm missing. But this is definitely something that I would tell people personally to look into if they need it as a helping tool to help them get into a better financial structure
Thank you.
situation. So I
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Brett, just on top of that, can you talk a little bit, and Sherita, you too, about the financial literacy component of Self and how important that was for you?
Oh, the financial literacy piece was beyond them helping to build my credit. The financial literacy piece was a wealth of knowledge. Just what they're giving out and just really educating you on really how to build, maintain, and maintain. Because sometimes we build, but we don't know how to maintain that positive credit. Because you see those things where we're up and down, just like weight. But the education that they're giving you, they're teaching you financial literacy to ensure that you're able to become financially capable. And that means that you're able to maintain that for a lifetime. And that's the thing that really makes Self really stand out.
And you were telling me you would stay, before you did this, you would stay up at nights just reading and learning.
Let me tell you something. They will become, their platform will become your new social media thing. You're just, how you just get through Facebook or Instagram and you're just scrolling. Once you really get confident in this, you will spend hours, or I'm telling you, it's become addicting because just learning, and then you become a teacher, because when everybody else is trying to see you change your situation, you can just really just utilize and be able to educate others, like you just mentioned. They believe in that each one teach one, and that's what I really like about them. They want you to pass that information on that you've learned and continue this, not just share to have signups. Yes, they want to touch people across the country, but they also want you to do the footwork as well and show others what you using Self, what happened to you and how you are able to gain so much beyond just building credit. You were able to build knowledge that you can pass on to those behind you.
Brett, talk about why was it important to self to include that financial literacy component?
You know, you can create a great product, but if people don't know how to use it or don't better themselves long term, then you're only solving it short term. And so I think we've really always invested quite a bit in the education component. It's a really important part of our experience. We want to educate. We want, like Sherita said, we want people to tell others how to use it. You know, the best advocate for us is our customers. It's not just me. It's not me telling people, right? It's our customers. And when it comes to a lot of the content education we do, you know, there's a lot of companies that put content out there, and they have different aims. And it's not always the right content. It's not always teaching you the right things necessarily, and there's certainly ones that do too. We've always been on this mission, and our mission is credit and savings, and help people with credit and savings. And so we're laser focused on that, and we want you to consume it. We want you to read it. We want you to understand. And you know, it takes time. You know, you read something one time, it may not sink in. We're going to keep telling you. We want you to understand the components of credit, but a lot of other things just to better your life, because we know that we're one part of the ecosystem for someone's financial health. We're one part, and we can help to take the step forward in that one part. And our hope is that we're affecting all the parts, even though we may not be playing in all the parts necessarily, right? We're not the products that are all over the map. We're in a specific area. But that doesn't mean that we can't influence you and help you and you know, build a relationship and trust with you.
So once you pay off this loan, right, that you sign up for, the credit building loan, you get to access that money after that 2 years?
Yeah, so basically the savings that you put into it unlocks at the end. You don't get the money up front, just to be clear. You know, you're taking out a loan, but it's held. And so you start making payments over time. And then when you get to the end of the term, which is 1 to 2 years, you unlock the savings that you put in. Really, it's the principal that you paid into it. A lot of our customers actually just put it into another credit builder account because they've seen the benefits in a lot of different ways, and so they just want to keep going. And some of our customers will take the money out and they'll use it for something that they just got access to that they wouldn't have before. So it's really, you know, it's the savings piece is incredibly important. It is so unique, is that you're really putting that money there, but it's your money.
What about all the people out there listening who are saying, shoot, I can't qualify for a loan?
Yeah, so basically you need to be 18 years old or older. You need to be a resident of the U.S. and you need to have a Social Security number. So that's how you can get access to it.
There's not a credit check. There's none of that.
There's no credit score required. You can start with no history at all, no credit at all. A student in college that's 19 years old just getting started, you can start with us. And so that's a really big piece of our program around allowing people to access and get going.
So even for and also I think that's an important point to make for the credit card. A lot of people hearing this are in that, you know, fear thing, not thinking I can get a loan, not thinking I can get a credit card. You don't need to be qualified for that either.
No, it's the same thing. There's not a credit check for the credit card either. We're basically telling you how to get it when you get started with a credit builder account. We have the credit card. Once you get to 3 payments or $100 in principal, we say, do you want it? Okay, now use it wisely. But we're not doing another credit check at that time.
So after doing self for 4 months, you get the credit card. Your credit profile starts improving right away. Your credit profile, the thing that's help you get loans, help you get jobs, even looked at for promotions, starts improving right away. And then at the end of the 2 years, you get that $500 and the interest that it's earned in the CD. How do people find it?
So in Google Play or in the App Store, you can find us, or you can find us at self.inc. That's our website. But a lot of folks are coming in through the app stores, and you just search up self-build credit, and you'll find us in the app stores.
Is there such a thing as good debt?
Yes, there's good debt if you pay it. If you pay it off and you can manage it, you know, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the credit bureaus look at your debt and they look at your obligations, and it is a factor. And if you're showing that you're doing it the right way, then it can be good. It can be good as long as you're handling it the right way. If you have too much debt, and there's a lot of revolving debt, and you're not able to pay it, or you're missing payments, or it's too much of a percentage, for example, of your income, when they look at that too, then that's not good. But borrowing is not a bad thing to do. Borrowing is a fundamental financial product. There's lots of products that's really important for people to better their lives as long as they do it the right way.
Excellent.
Okay.
So we have, I think, a contest. If you go to power105.1fm.com.
It's power1051fm.com.
Thank you.
Yeah. They always write it wrong. I don't know. Power1051fm.com.
And if you share your credit stories with us, the winner gets $500. So go sign up for that. And again, we want to hear your stories about signing up for SELF. If you go to my website, mindmoneymedia.com, you're going to see a great story about Sherita and her story. And for financial literacy, everybody out there has got to check out Sherita's site. Tell us about that.
Okay, so if you want to know more about me and what I'm doing and how I'm teaching people to break the debt and credit chains, you can go over to SheritaMHumphrey.com. And if you just want to remember it, if you don't remember, my initials are SMH, but it's not shaking my head. It's sharing money healing.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for coming out for Wealth Wednesday. Thank you for this amazing just response we've gotten from everybody out there. I know just thousands and thousands and thousands of people tuned into that Breakfast Club interview today. You're sending us your responses. I know we're getting a lot of conversation on social media. So we're really glad that you guys are stepping up and that we will continue at Wealth Wednesday to help you help yourself. And thank you all so much for joining
Thank
us.
you
They
so
came
much.
here
Thank
from
you for having
Texas.
Thank you,
On your
Angela.
birthday. Oh, yeah, you
Thank
came
you.
from Texas.
Yeah.
It is birthday
And
2025
yes, and
is
Stacey for
great.
being here on her birthday. I don't know if we have any more questions, but you guys can step.
I just wanted him to touch on something that spoke about a feature on the service when I asked you about that loan. You can kind of just touch on that. It made me feel that it was even more empowering because it sounded like that loan was like not much of a risk. If you had told me you could stop at any time.
Yeah, so the way the product works is you take, as I mentioned, you take the loan out, but you don't get the money. It's essentially in a CD. We want everyone to go as long as they can. We want you to keep making the payments, go to a year or go to 2 years. If you don't at a certain time because you need the money, right? And a lot of times we have customers, of course, something comes up and they may need the money. They've been saving for 5 or 6 months. It's your money. So you call us up and we give you your money back, right? We give you the principal you put into the loan, and we have a very small fee that's less than $2 to give you the money back, and it's perfectly fine. We always advise try not to, because you got to keep making those payments to help your history and your credit. But it's always an option, and I think we are always realistic. Things come up for folks, and we want to do the right thing.
Good, you don't have to forfeit your money. Like,
Right.
sorry.
Right. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Come up. Look, sorry, we can't hear you. So everybody can hear your question.
So I have a question about one of the archetypes that you mentioned, thank you. So I had a question about one of the archetypes that you mentioned about the 19-year-old college student starting from scratch. Like, that fit me perfectly. Like, I'm 18, I just started college, I'm a freshman at John Jay, and, thank you.
Yay.
And I was just wondering, like, what advice do you have for someone just starting out? Like, my parents aren't really like credit role models. Like, they weren't in a position to be, and I've always been irresponsible with my own money. Like, I've always spent my money quick whenever I got a paycheck. So what advice do you have building credit from scratch? And do you have any bank options? Because I don't even know what bank I should start going to as a college student. So I would appreciate if you have any insight.
Yeah, so the best news when you get started and when you're new to credit is that you don't have any bad news to take off, right? You don't have any bad news to take off your report, and this is crucial to get going and do a product like ours. Our product really works for people who are new to credit because there's nothing else on the credit report, and it's the way to start, right? You do want to access revolving credit and get a secured card at some point. Hopefully with us, but if not, I still recommend it. Because it shows, again, the credit bureaus that you're being responsible and you're starting yourself off in the right foot. Student loans, when you come out of school, student loans and paying student loans and that obligation can help your credit as well and put you in the right footing. So my recommendation is really save money, do the products that you can handle, right, and make sure, and and work as hard as you can. I was delivering newspapers and working in the library and doing everything I could to be able to afford the loans that were already starting for me, to be able to get myself out of the gate so I wasn't crushed by debt, but just to do the right thing and get the right habits in place. So I think if you do the combination of those things and you're starting new, then you're going to be on the right footing. From a bank perspective, we know a lot of students who have local credit unions that work with their universities that are always really good options. I think to get started, and credit unions tend to be fair in their rates. They tend to be really good banks. They're good actors, I think, and they really help people as well. So couldn't necessarily recommend a specific one to you, but we tend to see that.
If you have no credit history at all, right, and no credit, then what is your score?
You don't have one.
You just have no credit score.
It depends on the credit bureau.
Bureaus,
Sometimes a bureau will give you a score of 4
Oh, yeah.
Sheesh.
for some reason, but
That happened to your mother, right, Sherita?
Yes, and let me tell you something. I don't see anyone closer to my mom's age here, but my mom is 73 years young. And so she never had credit before because she came from the era, she was born in 1946, is if they didn't believe in credit, that if you didn't have the money to get it, then you didn't get it. And so she didn't understand that credit, she always was like, I said, Mom, I said, it's never too late. She said, I'm in my 70s. Why do I need credit? I said, because your life's not over. And so literally my mom was in her early 70s, and she signed up for a self-lender account. And she is now at 700.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she came from no credit score. So this is when I tell you guys this is a family thing, I'm teaching my mom of how to build credit and maintain. And so I'm gonna tell you something, Brett. I didn't tell you, but she knew I was coming here. She just wanted me to tell you that she's living her best credit life.
I love it. I love that. Awesome.
And so, guys, it's never too late. You're young. There's a big gap. You're 18. My mom's 73. So just look at what she did. Listen to, if you ask me what the best thing that you can do is to, number one, when Angela mentioned student loans, don't live on your student loans, because a lot of students, we're from Texas, and I can tell you, sometimes you pull up to the universities and the Mercedes and all of the nicer cars belong to the students, and the teachers are in Honda Accords. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just gonna let you know, because eventually you're gonna have to pay that money back, and sometimes, a lot of times, and I'm pretty sure Angela has seen this too, so many people are like 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 in student loan debt. But if you were to ask them, how much of that student loan debt did you use for education, and how much of it were you living on? And so and not to say that if you're doing that, that's not a problem. I mean, I'm not trying to come down on you, but I'm just letting you know, eventually you're going to have to pay those things back. And that's when you hear people say, I've been paying my student loans for 10 years, and it doesn't seem like anything's moving. Yeah, and so I don't want you guys to do that. Start to get into the mindset that you're gonna pay yourself first. Mm-hmm. It should be paying yourself first, and then all of your other bills. Self should become an expense on your budget. So that way you don't have to worry about any missed payments.
And it's very empowering when you're able to do things with your own
Yes.
credit and not have to get a cosign. You know, when I got my first apartment, my dad, unbeknownst to him, did co-sign for it. But it was so nice when I remember I was going to get a car, and I was like, okay, I was getting my first lease, and I still had my dad's social security number in case I needed it. And I was like, well, let me see what happens if I do it myself. And I was able to get a car on my own without getting a cosign. And that's a great feeling to know that you can go apply for an apartment and, you know, apply and get a lease for a car, and then eventually get a mortgage and not have anybody cosign, and it can be all on you and not have to rely on anybody else. That's a very empowering feeling. When I was able to go and get my mortgage and get pre-approved immediately, like a few minutes later,
Yeah.
they like, you've been pre-approved, and to get the best rate possible. All that is really important. Not a lot of people are gonna buy a house cash. So that's why it is important to establish that credit, and you don't want to have to, you might as well start now, so that when it's time for you to do it, you've established those great habits. Then when you pre-apply it, and honestly, like, just to be able to do that, if you're putting, like in Brooklyn, it's a really tough market. So if you're bidding on a house and you're able to say, oh, well, I'm already pre-approved for this, and here's all my stuff, and I can get it, you'll be able to get that before anybody else as they're trying to apply for things. It falls through, it doesn't work out. It's just nice to be able to know that you have the power to do that.
And I think it's something that we've heard Angela touch on before, especially when we're having trouble with debt, bills, and everything. Sometimes we just don't open them. We don't want to, we just don't want to deal. We just think that that part of our life is just so far beyond our comprehension. And it's, this one offers a great solution that lets you take baby steps. But when it comes to debt, be proactive, because what do you think is the number one reason people go into unmanageable debt? That's number 2. Job loss is number 2. The number one reason is medical. Medical expenses, job loss, and divorce. Again, none of these things make you a bad people. Life happens, and they're just life events. But when you close that in and you think, okay, I'm totally powerless and I'm just going to shut myself off, again, it affects your decision making. Medical debt, biggest problem. What's one thing about medical debt? It's interest free. So when you're in that situation, if you have medical bills, if you have a lot of those mounting doctor costs, those people should be your first call, because those will be the first people to put you on an installment plan. Those will be the first people to reduce some of your settlement. And that debt is not costing you any money. Then you're doing, being proactive in that way, and having an opportunity with an app like this to also be building credit. It's just going to have a much better outcome than just, I totally get the feeling of not wanting to open your mail and closing it and putting away. But again, and then once you start seeing these little results, once you start getting these small
Final notices, when you get those final notices and you're like, damn.
Shredder.
Then you get the final notice. And like,
Yeah. But just keep going, because there's solutions out there, and that's really what we wanted to bring to you tonight.
All right, well, if there's no more questions, anybody? We appreciate y'all for coming out, and once again, Paris, you have a question?
No, but can you give them the website?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. One more time, where can people find Self?
Self.inc, or go to Google Play or the App Store.
And the con.
Oh, and you can go to power1051fm.com. I know y'all want that $500, so go to power1051fm.com, and if you look up Self, then you can see how you can enter to win.
And you have to sign up. And also you can go to mindmoneymedia.com and look for the story on Sherita. And within that story, there's ways that take you through the process of signing up for Self, too.
And it's Stacey's birthday, so give your Cash App.
Just say yes. $, just say yes. Now, that'll be a lovely birthday present if I know that all you people out there took a step to build your credit and financially empower yourself. So for my birthday, sign up for Self, write to me, tell me you did it, and I might have something for you too. Thank you, everybody.